probably never leave me. And it was not necessarily in my treatment, but in the treatment of somebody else that I observed. This is this person who's unable to speak. And she's, having that treatment. They have lasers, they have music going. And I think the whole office came in and started singing this song together to encourage her to be able to speak. And you just don't find that everywhere. That compassion for someone, and that the uniqueness to come and want to be a part of it and sing with joy and love, like that will probably never leave my mind. Like I honestly, I got goosebumps when I was watching it, and I thought, oh, God is most definitely present here.
So as a caregiver, you hold so much of their trauma in yourself. For me personally, I was trying to take his trauma, trying to take his pain, trying to take all of that into my own body so that he didn't have to feel that. And I thought that I had let it go, but until I sat with Dr. Jerry, I had not let go of it, obviously, because I still felt that tension in my body. But as soon as she did that to me, it was like a full release of just everything. And I let out a huge breath, and Jaden let out a huge breath at the exact same time that I did. We're so connected that if I let my trauma go from this situation, he'll feel that trauma leave his body too. And then he can feel the peace, then I think he has the opportunity to heal.
We have some new technology. This is SoftWave. I'm extremely excited about this for multiple reasons. We're one of the first clinics in the world to be using it for brain applications. I've had some firsthand experience on some amazing regenerative capacity with this machine on what it can do for the brain, restoring function extremely quickly, getting people out of pain faster than I've ever seen before. I've literally seen, even this week, I've seen primitive reflexes literally inhibit or integrate faster than I've ever seen before when we use it on the brain, but then also specifically for those primitive reflexes. We're the first to do it, that kind of application, which is really exciting. We'll continue to do some pilot studies. We're working in collaboration with SoftWave to do those research studies. So extremely excited. We're also using this now in combination with our B-cell procedure, using it before and after to help enhance the stem cells, which it is clinically proven, but also proven in the research to enhance, upregulate that stem cell response. So very excited about that.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Bush, and this is Amy Lewis, and we are with Solutions for Special Needs Families. And today we're going to be talking about navigating life after 18. The clicker here, this one. So, what happens after your the 18th birthday? Your child is now an adult. As an adult, you have to have permission from your child to go into the IEP meetings at school. You have to have their permission to talk to the doctors, insurance companies. And legally, parents can't tell the child where they're going to live or how the money's going to be spent. So then you got to ask yourself, can my child make all of those decisions on their own without my help? So these are your options, and I'm going to go from the bottom up. So the least restrictive is a supported decision-making agreement. Some states don't have it, Texas does, but it's an agreement with you and your child that you're going to talk about the decision and come to a mutual understanding. That is, that's the least restrictive. Then you've got the medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, where your child is giving you permission to act as their agent to make those decisions. So then you come to the question, does my child have the capacity to make those decisions? It's different for every family. And I've always said this is a personal decision. A lot of attorneys will say, oh, you have to have guardianship. Judges will want you to try the least restrictive first. So there is what's called the limited guardianship. And that's if you think your child has the capacity to vote, to get married, to drive a car. One person even put in they could handle up to $1,000. So you can still give them the rights to do certain things. And again, if you don't think they have that capacity, then you would most likely go for the guardianship of the person, because very few people with a disability have an estate. Now you'd have this with the estate if there was a settlement. If something happened and there's a settlement agreement, you would need the guardianship of the estate as well as the person. So Social Security, if your child has Social Security SSI benefits as a child, it changes when they turn 18 and you have to reapply, because the criteria for a child is different from an adult. So go ahead. Also, divorce is high. Divorce is even higher when you have a special needs child. Well, again, at 18, if you're getting child support, it's considered your child's income. So Social Security, if it's more than $2,000 or a certain amount, they will deny your application. So you'd have to have what's called a first party special needs trust, because it's the child's money. Well, in Texas, and I think most places, child support goes through through the Attorney General's office, and they monitor whether the dad's paying. And if they skip a payment, they're in arrears, and they can actually go after the parent and garnish wages. So the court would have to specify an order that it's going to go into a first-party trust versus the Attorney General's office. And so this is something that, you would talk with your family law attorney about. So, supplemental security income. So it provides for shelter. It used to be shelter and food and shelter, but they've taken away, Social Security's taken away looking at the food. So if you're approved, you can get $943 a month. Next year it goes up to $967. Now the requirements are you have to be blind, disabled, or age 65 or older. You have unearned income under $934. Unearned income would be if you're getting Social Security disability or veterans benefits, we're going to go through what that is. And have limited resources, so under $1,000. This is while the application's in process. You must have a severe disability that will last 2 years or until death, and it's going to prevent you from earning over $1,000. And you have no work history, or very little, because if you have work history, then they're going to say, well, you're eligible for Social Security disability, which is a different program. And so if you qualify for SSI, you automatically receive Medicaid. They go hand in hand. So when an individual qualifies for SSI, they automatically get Medicaid. To remain eligible for Medicaid, the individual's resources can never go over $2,000 a month. So if you're looking at $943 a month, after 3 or 4 months, you're going to be over that $2,000 limit. And they monitor it. Because if at the end of any given month, you're $2,001, you lose Medicaid and SSI for that month. And you must receive at least $1 from SSI. So if the child's working, and we'll go through the formula, it has to be to where SSI is still going to send you $1.
In order to get Medicaid.
Yeah.
Keep your Medicaid.
Keep your Medicaid. So SSI, they look at the income is not food and shelter, but it's shelter, cash, assets are considered income. Only the earned and unearned income of an adult child is counted. So they don't look at the parents' income or assets anymore once they're 18. Earned and unearned income reduces the SSI benefit. So SSI puts income into 2 categories. So unearned, meaning you didn't work for this money. Unearned is Title II benefits. That's either Social Security disability insurance from their own work record or retirement survivor disability insurance, which the acronym is RSDI. And that's when a parent retires and the child gets half of that benefit. So they didn't work for it, they receive it. Assets and gifts. If parent says, oh, I want to help my child, live in this apartment or whatever, and so I'm just going to put money into their checking account. That's a gift. That reduces SSI. And then child support after age 18. Earned income is shelter in lieu of wages. So if they live in your home and they're not paying you rent, that's income, and they'll take 1/3 of the benefit away. Right. And then, of course, wages. Go ahead. So if your child is in school and working, there's something called a student earned income exemption. Yeah. So here my example is $765 is the gross earnings. In this instant, they're only getting us, government's really generous. They say you can have that first 65. We won't count that. Because in this example, the child has earned Social Security disability on top. If they haven't, this would be $85. So then after that, you divide by 2, and they will subtract $350 from your SSI benefit. So unearned income, they've worked, and we'll go through the credits. If they have 6 credits, they are eligible for Social Security disability. So their unearned income is $220. They get a $20 exemption, $200 of it's counted. So in-kind support and maintenance. Again, if your child does not pay the parent rent, and you've proven it to Social Security that they're paying rent, then Social Security goes, okay, here's the maximum, but we're going to subtract 1/3 of that benefit, and they're eligible for $629. So this is the full calculation.
Now you know why we do what we do.
So you've got the unearned income of $220. There's an earned income exclusion of $65, and then there's the unearned income exclusion of $20. Earned income is, 65 from 765 is a $700. You divide that in 2 is $350. Countable unearned income is $200. Maximum I should have checked that. 2024 is $943. Now they're also going to subtract the in-kind support because the child's not paying rent. So the adjusted total countable income is $864 from $943. So you'll get a check for $79. So it's important to show Social Security that the child's paying rent.
So, like, if your child has no income, so you just show that you're charging them rent?
No.
Okay.
So if they have SSI and are getting a benefit, they've changed the laws as of September 30th, and now they pay you the presumed market value, which is over the $314. So if they're paying $350, $400, and you can show Social Security that they've done this for 2 months, you'll need a rental agreement, and that's the hard part. It says, if you don't pay me, I'm going to kick you out, which no parent's going to kick them out, but it has to say that. But you have to prove that to Social Security, and then they'll raise it to, yes?
I have a question. So you're saying that we have to, so we will have to make this rental agreement or whatever. So since it's a contract that we're doing, get the benefit, so then how did the government's gonna turn around and now it's like, okay, we have to pay taxes because we're charging
No,
for the rent?
because it is so below the, and if you go out there and give me your email, I'll send you the information, but it's below the market value.
Okay.
And so it's not considered income to the parent. Okay? So how to determine, their calculations for in-kind support. First, you have to have a business arrangement with your child. I mean, it has to be like your child's living in an apartment. That's an arrangement that they have a liability to pay rent every month, not, oh, I paid rent this month, and then 2 months later I'm going to pay rent, and an apartment complex isn't going to agree to that. And so in the language to the Social Security, you have to say you won't either. because they're still obligated. So the presumed market value, it says rent must be equal or be more than $334.33. You have to have a rental liability, so a living arrangement. Does the person live in their own household or in the household of another and is subject to this presumed market value rule? So rental liability must precede a determination for a rental subsidy. The rental subsidy is an individual receives the in-kind support and maintenance in the form of a rental subsidy. Their regulations clarify that an individual is not receiving in-kind support and maintenance in the form of room and board if they're paying the monthly required charge. And so, we help families getting that monthly income raised.
Do they actually have to show the transfer of money?
They do.
You don't have to show where it goes. It just has to come out of either the SSI amount or, and we'll get into this, but prior to from an ABLE account.
That was my question, because we are very careful on how much money is in her name.
Mhm.
So I was wondering if she needed it to be in her name, but it can come out of an ABLE account.
And it has to be her money.
Okay.
So her money is the SSI benefit, earned income, or money in an ABLE account.
And that could be the proof of the 2 months that it's coming out.
Okay. With an ABLE, don't pay it to the representative payee account. It goes directly to the parent. Okay. So what is an ABLE? It is Achieving a Better Life Experience program. So it's like a 529C, but this is a 529A. So parents or grandparents, whoever wants to, can put up to $18,000 this year. And that number's tied to the gift tax allowance. So next year it goes up $1,000, so you could put $19,000 in there next year. We don't really recommend using an ABLE account as an investment tool, because it has what's called the Medicaid clawback. So if Medicaid has paid anything to help your child and something happens and your child dies, they say, well, we get paid first and take whatever's in there. So, if you had 1,000 in there, it's not as painful as losing 100,000. So there's other ways to invest money for your child rather than the ABLE.
Question.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
If you have a 529C, like prior to injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were just saving for college.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm hearing you say don't transfer it to an.
You can. You can transfer to an ABLE. An ABLE account can pay for rent. It could pay for a vacation. It could pay for home modifications, whereas the 529C is for college or school. So,
There's pros and cons to it.
right. I want to go back one more. I just realized I didn't say something. So right now, we're recommending ABLE accounts in California, Maryland, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. We don't recommend it in Texas. Texas is not a bank. They have no routing number. Whereas if you wanted, you could have that Social Security check go directly into the ABLE and not worry about the $2,000 limit. You can't do that in Texas. So these are, how can you spend the money in the ABLE account? So the funds can be used to purchase qualified disability-related expenses. That's pretty broad. And any expense related to the designated beneficiary's blindness or disability that will assist him or her in increasing or maintaining their health, independence, and quality of life.
So are these pre-tax dollars that go into the ABLE account?
No.
Okay. So
It goes in, and if it gets interest, it's interest-free. I mean, you don't pay taxes on the interest.
okay.
Okay? But it
Okay,
is.
so you put it in. I'm just trying to understand how it's better than just paying for those things directly.
Well, the one thing the ABLE account can do is pay rent.
Okay.
So if your child doesn't have SSI yet, you're applying, there's no money. So you put money into an ABLE account, you take out $400 each month. It sounds like almost a scam to me. But you put money in, you pay yourself. You could put that money back in and pay yourself again, but it makes Social Security happy. So we jump through the hoops.
I understand that it's protected in a way so it doesn't count towards their SSI income, right?
But, or the $200 maximum limit.
Right, so it's better to have the money, if they're, instead of a savings account for your child, it's better to have the money in
Correct.
something like that that's protected because it doesn't have that cap that does if it's just a regular account. Okay.
Right. So this is what I was saying is upon filing for SSI, a rental subsidy should be established at the beginning, because if it takes 10 months to get approved, and it takes much longer, but that's easy for my brain for math. So if it takes 10 months to get approved, if you've proven that that child's paying rent at the beginning, they're going to owe you back $9,430 versus $6,290. I mean, you're leaving money on the table without creating this rental agreement.
I feel that sigh. I think we all do.
So all of this, again, is what I was saying, that the rent has to be paid to the parents. You don't, when you prove it to Social Security, you don't have to show the account that's receiving it, just that it's going out consistently. So the ABLE administrator is normally the parent. It's like a 529C. You put money into it, but you're the administrator and you can pay out for college or private schools. But this is, you know, mom and dad are usually the administrators of that account. So upon approval from SSA, a rental subsidy has been established. The disabled adult must pay a parent with their own money. So the disabled person's money comes from earned or unearned income, and the SSI benefit and money in their ABLE account. So again, the child has to pay with their money. Parent can't put money into an account for the child because that's a gift, and that will be subtracted from SSI. So it has to be that child's money. The representative payee, so when SSI is approved and you said, well, my child can't do math and can't, you know, balance a checkbook and pay bills, they're going to usually put the parent as the representative payee over the money that's coming in from Social Security. So they take, the representative payee at that point can take the $400 out of that account and pay yourself. Yes?
So I have a
question. If you're already that for your child who is not 18 now, and of course you know that your child, when they become 18, they still won't be able, like, does everything stay the same and your income is still calculated with?
No,
No?
it's only the child's income
After
and
18?
and assets. Yes.
My child at the time of injury qualified for SSI benefits because the hospital social worker looked to see if they qualified for Medicaid and they did SSI. They did qualify because we were out of work at the time and not having an income. Does that mean I have to reapply for SSI because we lost it when I went back to work?
When they're an adult, yes.
Okay.
Because the criteria is also different.
Okay.
Social Security considers this criteria for children and this criteria for adults.
So you recommend waiting until they're 18 or before they're 18?
No,
to
waiting.
start
Waiting.
until they're 18 to apply?
If you're not, if, for example, my son is not needing the Medicaid portion, right, because my company covers him till he's 26, does that change your view of the amount that you would put in the ABLE account?
No. No. I mean, if you want the full 943, you still have to put money in.
Well, no, I mean money, but I mean, you said don't look at it as an investment account because of Medicaid clawback. Well, if you're not going to have Medicaid clawback, at least for the foreseeable future,
Right.
that
It's a very strong possibility.
okay.
I'll also add to you want to get Medicaid at 18 regardless, because in Texas there's a program called HIP, HIPP. It stands for Health Insurance Premium Program. It's a Medicaid program. So when you have multiple health insurance stacked, private insurance is first, Medicare second, Medicaid's third. You could, depending on the out-of-pocket cost or the insurance cost to cover your child, Medicaid will reimburse you a portion of your health insurance premium for your employer-sponsored health insurance, up to 100%, because they want to force that bill onto Aetna, Blue Cross, whatever, versus Medicaid floating that bill. So even if you're not going to quote-unquote use Medicaid, even after past the age of 26, 99.9% of employer-sponsored health insurance plans will allow you to keep a dependent with special needs on their health insurance past 26. You want to get that help, that HIP program, because then it's just extra money that you can set aside in your own name, earmarked for that supplemental needs trust in the future. So it's not like I'm not going to utilize any services right now. Do I really want to get it? Yeah, because there is a financial benefit to it. But two, if loss of employment, injury, anything happens to you and you need to fall back, you at least have that secondary insurance immediately.
And so this is my little matrix of the ABLE account is child's money, family, third-party trust, first-party trust can put money into an ABLE account because a trust cannot pay rent. So it has to go into a vehicle that can pay rent, which is the ABLE account. So the administrator of the ABLE then sends $400 to the parent. Okay? Let's see. Oh. So when you've got SSI, and it's only 628 or 629, it's 628 and change. So then you've got SSI, and it's in a representative payee account. They want you to have a special account to receive that money. You take money out of that money and pay yourself. And then you're wanting it. So how will Social Security know about the change? So one, you've got to show them bank statements for 2 months. Excuse me, need some water. For 2 months that those payments have gone out. Then you have to show a rental agreement, and there's a form, SSA 8011. And complete that, sign it, and send that all into the Social Security office. Depending on the Social Security office, it could take 4 months, or it could take 6 months. Just depends on your Social Security office. They're very slow right now.
Or years.
Yeah.
Years or years.
Or years.
Well, we haven't seen that for the rentals. It's not a year, but
Yeah.
less than 6.
We had a lag time between applying for medical assistance.
Mhm.
My youngest daughter was just diagnosed with an issue that qualifies her, and we were on a 6-month wait list for the interview to see if we're eligible to go.
Mhm.
So it took the better part of a year, and they did not refund us all that money we spent in that year because the diagnosis date was the date. They didn't go back to the diagnosis date, they went to the date that we received
Yeah.
coverage.
Right.
Pennsylvania.
The date you applied, right?
Date you apply.
No, I applied the day after diagnosis.
Oh.
That's not the date they took, they take the date that we were approved,
Wow.
which was.
And this was for Medicaid and
It
not,
was for Medicaid.
Medicaid, okay.
Medical assistance.
okay. And that's different from every state because, yeah. Okay. So who receives Title II benefits? So Title II is based on work history and what you've paid into the system, the FICA taxes that they take out. So a person can either draw from their own work record, their parents' work record, or a deceased parent's work record. The individual must be deemed disabled prior to age 22.
That's hard with traumatic brain injury. It's hard with traumatic brain injury.
Mhm.
Sometimes that happen later in life,
And
and they're like, if they're not.
They're not-
There's all
then-
these age cutoffs. I'm like, that doesn't make sense
Right.
for us.
Right.
All the time.
And let me add to that. So if you have younger children, we tell them right now, keep everything. Anytime there's a new disability added, or anything like that, keep that date, because we will use it whenever we go to apply for SSI. So families are like, I don't have that anymore. So it's really important to keep everything.
So when a parent applies to receive their own Social Security disability, their child is eligible for 50% of that. That doesn't take away from the benefit for the parent. It's on top of. 24 months after that occurs, they're eligible to receive Medicare. When the parent passes away, that child gets 75%. So we're going to say parent is going to get $4,000 a month from Social Security. That child gets $2,000 a month. When they die, that goes up to $3,000 a month. So that helps in your long-term planning.
So Medicare, just to be clear, isn't determined by age?
No, this is for if you're disabled.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's not determined by age?
You have to be over 18.
Correct. So
But that's
anyone
it.
over the age of 18 is able to receive Medicare?
If it's off of the, like I said, Social Security disability or the parent's Social Security.
So even if the child or the young adult over 18 has never worked or hasn't received enough credits, they can still get this because
Parents.
the parents.
And they were deemed disabled prior to age 22.
Okay.
So here's an exception. There's always exceptions to the rules. Even if your child was disabled prior to 22, if they continually worked and worked up to the substantial gainful amount, this year it's $1,550. So if your child makes that much, for 13 months, then they're deemed not disabled anymore. So they can, we call it working yourself off the system. So here's an example. John, disabled at age 3, but parents didn't file for SSI. John started working in 2022, making $1,344 from April to December. This was called the trial work period, and you can make as much as you want. So $14 an hour, 6.5 hours a day, 4 days a week, 336, anyway, it ends up being 1,344. 2023, John's boss really likes him, wants to keep him on. It's going to give him a raise of 50 cents an hour. So now he's going to be making $1,470 a month. In 2023, that was over the substantial gainful amount. And so if he works, so by March 2023, John is no longer connected to his parents' Social Security record. He's only eligible to receive his own Social Security disability when he no longer works. So he couldn't get that benefit until his disability caused him to not be able to work. So if a parent is receiving Social Security disability and they have a child who's disabled, the child can receive half of the parent's disability check. And again, this whole thing of must be diagnosed prior to age 22. Now, depending on the amount they're receiving, so when you receive money from the parent, there's a new acronym, RSDI, Retirement Survivor Disability Insurance. So they'll also get SSI-Medicaid, possible, if the amount is low enough. And a child receiving the RSDI is not eligible for Medicare until they're 18. So they could get Medicaid, but they can't get the Medicare.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
If you have more than one disabled child, are they both eligible? But it doesn't come out of parent?
Right, but
So they would each get half of what I get, but that wouldn't be 100% of mine.
Right, there is a family maximum.
There's 2. Yeah.
But I think it's between 150 and 180% of what you're getting.
Okay.
So when this happens and your child starts getting this $2,000 a month, Medicaid probably will send you a letter and say, you're making too much money, you don't get Medicaid anymore. Well, legally, they can't. Because it's written in the POMS that, and I'm going to go into this, but in non-legalese language, if the beneficiary was eligible for Medicaid prior to the parent's retirement, they're still eligible for Medicaid. So this is the section from we call it the POMS, Policy Operation Manual. It's what the guideline for Social Security. And, there's the number. If you get the copy of this, if you get that Medicaid denial letter, put this with it because they're considered a disabled adult child. No. So you're wondering how to manage family, life, school, doctors, and now learn all the Social Security rules. So, you know, we can help you. A benefits advisor can help you. And so I just want you to know, really in the education of this, all the little pitfalls and things you have to go through to get Social Security benefits. Yes.
So my son does currently receive Social Security.
How old is he?
He's 10 now.
Okay.
And he has since birth. However, I've been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, solely caring for him because of his condition. Well, he's gotten a little bit better, and he can go to school from 7 to 2. So this year, because I do have other children, I decided to get a job. I got a job as a teacher. And it's like our review is coming. I mean, I know it's coming time for our review, and I keep everything. I'm a documents person and paper trail person because I learned early on that you have to fight so much. It's best to have proof of all of these things. So now that I'm working, I know last year, like, something happened and I got like a lump sum of money, and my representative, she was really sweet. She was like, "Baby girl, get that out of your account right now, like, because you can't have more than $2,000 in your account."
Was that lump sum from SSI?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
It was from a car accident, actually.
Oh, okay.
But, so now that I'm working, my question is, will my son lose Social Security because I clearly earn more than $2,000 per month, and there is more than $2,000 in my account, but
There's a deeming, and they have a calculation that they go through. Now, obviously, I'm talking about Texas because
I'm in Georgia, but yes, ma'am.
it's. But they have this whole calculation of you're earning so much, so many people are in the household, and then, you know, divided, and you can still qualify.
Okay.
But tell me about the settlement. Was that for the child or you?
Well, so he received a settlement and I did as well, but it was just in my account and I had it in one account. I didn't think anything of it because I was told once before that you can't really count that as income, but they knew that I had it. They knew that it was there clearly.
Right.
And so I now have to pay them back because I got that settlement and I did not report it. But I was not aware that I was supposed to report it because I was once told that I didn't have to report it. So
all the rules are
now
very
that
blurry.
they don't take all of it, but they do take a small portion once a month so that until I pay them back basically. But I wasn't aware. And it just came from me not being knowledgeable, but now I know, so it's like, okay, well, I want to work, I need to work, I'm tired of being at home, but how much money can I make? Or can I work? Is it safe for me to work? Because I can't afford my son's $20,000 hospital stays and
Without
the Medicaid, because it covers everything broadly, and he requires a lot.
Have you looked at the waiver programs in Georgia? Well, they're not, can't be worse than
How old do you have to be to access them? Isn't that older waiver programs?
Every state's completely different. Like in Texas, there is no age
So we
requirement.
have something called Katie Beckett.
Yeah.
But you have to earn so much money to even qualify to apply for that. So it's like a win-lose situation.
Yeah, I would probably explore some of that. Like in Texas, the one that comes to mind would be like MDCP. Which is for minors under the age of 21. But yeah, with you in a teacher salary, like I wouldn't hold your breath that you'll keep Medicaid.
And do you have a case manager that you, like here, we have like Bubonic Trails and like in Houston, they have the Harris Center, and they should be able to also, or even your ARC, your local ARC.
We don't have that. Well, what does ARC stand for? So we do have it, but it's not.
So
It's not an acronym anymore.
It's like
we
a
have
national.
like a Department of Family and Children's Services.
Yeah.
But they're no help. We can't even go in office. It's still virtual from COVID. So yes, the offices
5
are.
years later.
Yes, they are literally still working from home. So we don't have. And when you go in the office, it's literally you can do an application or you can talk to someone through a door, but you can't see anybody. So even when you do a review, you do it online, someone calls you on the phone, and that's it. So yeah, like most of my benefits have been cut off. I'm just waiting to see what happens with my son's insurance, because I don't know. But I've just literally been curious as to how that will be calculated or how that will work.
For the future settlements, you should look at either having a settlement, like a 1310 settlement trust, or a supplemental needs trust. Because settlement money isn't counted as a resource for taxes, but it's counted as a resource for means-tested benefits. So you gotta be careful on that. But yeah, I would probably explore the waiver programs as much as
Okay,
you could.
I'll definitely look into that. Thank you so much.
And if you want to give,
Barbara and I are based in Texas. Remember, Social Security is federal, so we see and talk with families all over the United States. And the reason Brian's in here is we partner with him. He is a special care planner, him and Tammy, and we work with them. We're a team that work together because it takes all of these things that you guys are talking about as far as that come up and answering those questions and all those things.
Because it's hard not to work. Like it's hard to work with a child who has special needs. And sadly, he does get insurance, but that doesn't pay for everything. He needs clothing every so often. He has surgeries and he has casts from the waist down. So I have to get a caregiver because the hospital will only give him 10 hours, or the insurance only covers 10 hours, and he needs more than that sometimes. So it's just, since I've had my son, I've seen so many different things, and I've heard so many different things, and I'm just always confused. But again, I have to work now. That's just it. I have to work. It's
And
not
I think
an option.
Yami was looking at some resources for you when you came to the table. Did she say something?
No.
She was gonna look for something for Georgia?
Well, there was another lady that we.
There's another lady
no.
here that's from Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question going back.
Sure.
You mentioned something about SSI and qualifiers. When we were told this was time of injury, we were in the PICU, it was a very blurry time when she was on life support. We were told she qualifies based on her disability. She was catastrophically disabled at the time of injury. They also told me that we would in Pennsylvania then have like a lifetime Medicaid. Like we would already be like in the system just because of the qualifier. It wasn't based on our income at the time.
so
I have known that there's been a flux now of like, sometimes she gets free reduced school lunch, sometimes that goes away, sometimes they send us a check, sometimes they don't. Is that, is because we qualified under disability category and not income, is that different, and how is it different?
well, in Texas, if what you're describing is your child, they're medically fragile and they need like 24-hour care, they don't look at the parent's income.
Okay.
They're only doing it qualifying on the disability.
So that's in Texas.
Yeah.
So she's
Why
saying I
would
need
we
to get out
lose
of
it?
Georgia?
I mean, that's what the PA told us, but why would then we lose the SSI?
Did you lose the SSI totally?
Well, when we applied for our second daughter, who was diagnosed with a disability 2 years ago, when we applied for her medical assistance, we lost a lot of the benefits we were getting. And I don't know if they re-looked at our case as now looked at it on income based, because she's disabled, she's type 1 diabetic. So she has a chronic condition, but she wasn't catastrophically disabled. So I don't know if SSI re-looked at our case and said, well, this person applying doesn't qualify under the disability.
Right.
We're gonna go based on your income, so your children no longer have the free reduced school lunch. We no longer get some of the SNAP benefits. And it's fine, but I'm a public school employee also. Money can get tight. So I just don't know why we lost some of those benefits. Is it because the second child?
I would go in and have Social Security explain it to you.
Okay.
Say, what did you do?
Someone on the phone is very hard to do.
Right, but if you can go in person.
In person in your Social Security office.
Right, and just say, I don't understand why you've done this. Can you please explain?
I still have my catastrophically disabled child.
Right.
Just because I have a second child doesn't mean that our case.
The first child changed, right.
Okay, because we were receiving and leaning on some of those benefits in terms of school lunches and
Yeah.
they were giving us money for groceries and stuff. It does kind of take the edge off. Yeah.
So I would go in and, because, you know, you want to fight this.
I've had the experience